please don't let Sony get involved. There's nothing I want less than to see Sony ruin this movie. Everything is lined up for an amazing street-level Spider-Man movie, and I hope Marvel is able to make the movie they want and does the character justice. Yes, you unfortunately read that right. According to insider Daniel RPK, Spider-Man 4 will likely release in between Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars in 2026, being a multiverse film set on Battleworld. As much as I'm praying that he's wrong, 78% of Daniel's scoops have turned out to be true in the past, so it's better that we skip through the 5 stages of grief right to acceptance. Just let me get this out of my system first. God damn it, man! We were on the verge of greatness! We were so close! Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's talk business. At this point, we really don't know the extent of how much the movie is going to rely on the multiverse. Honestly, I may be overreacting and this could all still change. There's a chance things aren't set in stone, but as it stands right now, Spider-Man 4 will be a multiverse movie. And let me tell you, that is really disappointing. No Way Home has one of my favorite endings in any comic book movie. Hell, maybe any movie in general. Seeing Peter make the hardest sacrifice possible and lose the life he always dreamed of along with all of his friends was beautifully tragic and perfectly fit the character of Spider-Man. It was this grand crescendo that tied together the themes of responsibility that ran throughout this trilogy in an earth-shattering way for Peter. The status quo was set to change in a big way as he was left on his own for the first time in his life. No Aunt May to lean on, no Stark money to fund Spider-Man. It was up to him to live up to his great responsibility. The end of No Way Home promised a more traditional and stripped-back Spider-Man, back to his roots as a poor, street-level hero sticking up for the little guy. So what if Sony just came in and ripped that all up in favor of more multiversal nostalgia? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that just be the best? It feels like squandered potential to set up this completely new direction for MCU Spider-Man, only to go back on it in the very next movie. Part of what made that ending so special is that he was truly alone without any support system to rely on. If Sony presumably plans to bring back Tobey and Andrew for this, it would be a disservice to that story by having Tom Spidey already have people to connect with over the trauma in his life. It wouldn't do anything for his character arc to reunite with them at this point, and would feel more like they're spinning their wheels with the character to keep the multiversal money rolling. What Sony needs to understand is that this is Spider-Man we're talking about. That movie is going to make money no matter what. They don't have to worry about that like other films do. It doesn't have to be this larger-than-life story with unfathomable scale as the universe is at stake. As long as a good story is prioritized, like they had been planning, people will come to see it in droves. Especially with the fact that it would have featured one of the most long-awaited team-ups in superhero movie history. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm very bitter that we're gonna have to wait even longer for a potential Spider-Man and Daredevil team-up in live action. We got the smallest taste of it in No Way Home, and I've been going through massive withdrawals ever since then. I am in desperate need of seeing them together again. Peter and Matt have my favorite superhero dynamic in all of comics. Two New York vigilantes with double lives, but with that comes two very distinct outlooks on life. Despite that, they're some of the only people who can actually relate to each other's problems on every level, and it's very cathartic for them to come together and talk about their problems. With Peter at his absolute lowest point right now, having him team up with Daredevil just makes sense. He can form a new connection with someone who understands that struggle and not feel the pressure of a secret identity for once. Matt is also learning what it's like to smile for the first time in his life, so it would be really interesting to see their usual dynamic turned on its head. Now you'd have a happier Daredevil helping pull Spider-Man out of the dark place he's in, especially when Mayor Fisk is threatening to take away vigilantism, the one thing he has left in life. There's so much untapped potential in the story they were originally planning for, and it frustrates me to no end that we might just not see it in this capacity anymore. We may still get it down the line, but now is the best time to do it, rather than force in another multiverse movie and disrupt the story they were telling. It's really sad to see them have to change plans because the people who made Morbius are in charge. There's no world where that's right. This isn't me pitching what I want either. It's not one of those videos. There were legitimate reports that Marvel was going in that direction for the movie. It seemed like this perfect grounded story was within our grasp, but somewhere along the way things went in a completely different direction. If you're a normal person and aren't chronically online like I am, let me break down what's been going on behind the scenes for the last 3 years. Basically, Sony and Marvel can't agree on what to do with Spider-Man 4. While Kevin Feige and Tom Holland, who confirmed himself that he's part of the creative process in this movie, are vying for a grounded story that honors No Way Home's ending, Sony has been heavily pushing for more multiversal multiversal elements. This internal back and forth has stalled the process despite Sony trying to rush the film into a 2025 release, and led to numerous different scripts being drafted up. For a hot minute though, it genuinely did seem like Marvel Studios got what they wanted and we were about to see the grounded Spider-Man story we all deserved. There was even a script ready that included Daredevil in a sizable role along with Kingpin, hiring villains to remove his vigilante problem. And does that not sound like the greatest Spider-Man story of all time right there? And now, unfortunately, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but over the last few weeks, things have taken a drastic change. It seems like Sony and Marvel have come to a new compromise that results in the movie taking place between Avengers films and dealing with new multiversal elements. Battleworld was specifically mentioned, which honestly is the most confusing element to me. In the 2015 Secret Wars event, you know, the good one with an actual plot that wasn't just designed to sell toys, Battleworld was born from the death of the multiverse, basically becoming this planet where everything was smushed together like a big sticky ball of universes all ruled over by Doctor Doom. Not exactly ideal living conditions, but what are you gonna do about it? Yeah, you, what is your plan? It's all up to you. Maybe it's just me not being creative enough for this, but I genuinely don't know how that's going to work for a Spider-Man story. It's such a drastic jump from a street-level situation, and without anything teasing where a story could go in a multiversal sense, since they basically cut that off in No Way Home, it's hard to see the vision here. I can't understand the point in bringing all three Spider-Man back together again outside of a nostalgia cash grab. It's not going to do anything for their stories at all, and will devalue No Way Home a bit from being this once-in-a-lifetime event to just another multiverse movie. When it comes to a movie set on Battleworld, all I ask is that it's something new and refreshing and different. If we're going to be doing this, you might as well do it the best possible way we can and stop trying to rehash the past and bring back these old actors. I have no interest in seeing him do what we've already seen before. When it comes to Spider-Man, I want to see him using Battleworld in creative ways, so please don't lean on the past and just do a Spider-Man story that's as self-contained as it can be. They have an opportunity here to take this scenario and turn it into something interesting, and I think that they can absolutely pull that off if they put the love and care into it that they have in the past. It seems like we're going to be stuck with this, so do the best you can in telling a really compelling story that builds off of what came before in a way that is rewarding and satisfying for Peter's current character arc. If I had to guess what they might do and make a pitch of my own, I feel like a story with Morlun and the Spider Totems might work. I know that comic is kind of a mess, but it would at least give them something to work off of that includes the multiverse and Spider-Man characters. But the stakes would be hard to invest in because it's set on a world that we know won't last. Perhaps it's going to involve Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom, and if so, I don't really want that either. It feels wrong that Doctor Doom has more of a relationship with Spider-Man than Reed Richards in the MCU, so I don't really want to see that happen at all. It makes sense that they'll probably have an interaction in Secret Wars together, but I want Peter to just not care about him at all. He needs to just be angry that this man is using his mentor's face and let that vengeance out. I don't want to see him go back to going, oh, Mr. Stark, please, Mr. Stark. No, this is a changed man with vengeance in his eyes. But when it comes to RDJ's Doom, I'm still really conflicted on that version of the character and leaning more towards dreading it at this point, but I guess there's a story to tell there. If you have any ideas for what you think they'll do with Battleworld, please let me know, because I need some kind of context and understanding before I can properly have an opinion on this. And if it has anything to do with introducing the SPUMM characters into the MCU, they can keep it, because there's nothing I want less than that. For my money, the Sony Spider-Man villain movies are part of the least interesting comic book movie universe out there. Besides Venom, who isn't even living up to his full potential, it's been flooded with characters who have been done dirty in the most boring possible way. From whatever Morbius was, to Madam Web's poorly edited Nightmare, to the upcoming animal-loving Kraven movie, they don't know what they're doing and it shows. I need them to stay as far away from my beloved MCU as possible. There's no interesting way to naturally integrate them over, and since none of them have any history with Spider-Man, I don't care to see him fight any of them on Battleworld. Honestly, I can't even do my usual bit where I get really angry and start yelling for comedic effect. I'm just so tired, man. It should not be this hard to make a Spider-Man movie, but Sony can't keep their crooked little fingers out. Please, Sony, if you're watching this, yes, the entire company of Sony, I'm addressing you. Just please stay out of Marvel's business and everyone's gonna prosper. I'm begging you. You will reap the rewards if you just let them cook. I know there's a lot of people who want Sony to have the full rights to Spider-Man again, and I get that on the level of not wanting Disney to have this big monopoly, but at the same time, Sony is actively driving Spider-Man into the ground. This is the same company that has ruined not one, not just two, but is about to kill their third Spider-Man universe. Just because the animation division is untouchable with Spider-Man doesn't mean that the live-action team will be too. They are completely different parts of the company, and the distance and quality between them is only growing. The executives in that company continue to think that they know better than the creatives who respect the source material, and it is exhausting. We had a good thing going in the MCU where Sony got the majority of the profits while Marvel got to produce the movies. I'd simply like it to stay that way, so everyone wins and we can keep these Sony vultures at bay. Spider-Man 4 was one of my most anticipated MCU projects just a few weeks ago, but now with its future up in the air, I don't know how to feel. And that really sucks. But here's the thing, just because it's a multiverse movie doesn't mean it's going to be intrinsically bad. I hate dwelling in negativity because there's way too much of it out there, so I'm more than willing to keep an open mind about this kind of thing. Just because it's not what I wanted to see, or clearly Marvel themselves, but I digress, it doesn't mean that they still can't cook up a good story. When it comes to Spider-Man in the MCU, I trust Marvel. They haven't let me down before, and as long as they have the pen writing it and are in the director's chair, they know what they're doing. They've shown in the past that they can handle the character in unique scenarios that you wouldn't expect him in. I was unsure how Far From Home would handle Peter outside of New York, and I really enjoyed that movie. No Way Home is one of the most ambitious movies of all time, and they pulled that off flawlessly, all while laying some groundwork for Spider-Man as a multiversal character that I'm sure they can build off of. What I'm most interested to hear at this point is who the creative team behind the movie will be. That's going to be the biggest indication of what we can expect quality-wise, and hopefully will be a good sign that we have an inspired story to look forward to. In a perfect world, we get something similar to what Ant-Man and the Wasp did, a mostly self-contained, small-scale film set between the two big events that ends on a cliffhanger to set the character up for a huge role in the future. I think that'd be a fun compromise that delivers on the street-level story they set up, while also preparing Spider-Man for his future in Secret Wars, where maybe he could finally get the symbiote suit during that movie as well. That'd be a good silver lining. I'm well aware what I'm asking is entirely unrealistic and would never happen, but just please let me dream. I'm so desperate for things to work out, and I'm more than willing to delude myself into finding some positivity in this movie. I'm probably overreacting here, losing my mind over a rumor that may not even be true, but as you can tell, I'm also incredibly passionate about this movie. One of my first videos, which feels like a lifetime ago at this point, was about Spider-Man 4 and my pitch for why it should be a street-level story. You may have seen the video, it's my most viewed one as of right now. Oh, you haven't seen it? Ooh, that's awkward. You should go watch it. Please, give me the views. There was a report at the time about how Sony and Marvel were going back and forth trying to decide what it should be, and I threw in my 2 cents with a pitch on how I would do the movie. And it's kind of crazy that every single aspect of that is now coming undone. They're doing the complete opposite of what I was asking for. Maybe this is my fault. Maybe I accidentally put a curse on this movie. If so, that's my bad, guys. Sorry about that. But it's just disappointing to see that they had things all lined up for this really good Spider-Man story. I was so incredibly excited for it, to see how things go and advance in the future. And now in one fell swoop, they've completely taken away a lot of my hype for this movie, and have made me more concerned than optimistic, which is always a bad place to be in. I only want to see the best for it, and this recent update is not exactly what I was looking for. In my eyes, a multiverse plot would be a huge step back for where they left off with Spider-Man in the MCU. Making him a street-level character struggling to get by and at his absolute lowest is exactly what I was looking for. I get that they could still do that in the future, but that would probably be in like 2030, and I don't even know if that's a real year. Everything was positioned to be this beautiful street-level Spider-Man story, and jumping to something else completely different only to come back to this premise would feel really strange and interrupt the flow of the narrative they were telling. We were robbed of this Spider-Man reaching his full potential. Putting him back into a multiversal setting with familiar faces isn't ideal, but like I said, I'm willing to keep an open mind and hope for the best. I want nothing more than a movie that pushes this character forward into bold new territories and does the arc that they set up justice. If Marvel thinks that they have an angle that does that, I'm more than happy to see it. I just want a good movie no matter what it's about. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, we're all going to be there opening night to see what happens no matter what they do. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video here the same way I did the last one, with this very important sentiment from Peter himself.
Wish me luck. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man could really use some.
Thank you all for watching. Now it's your turn to talk, so tell me, how are you feeling about this change to Spider-Man 4? I would love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. If you enjoyed my thoughts, feel free to give the video a like and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you want to see another video like this, you can click right over here. Every other version of you throughout the multiverse has already done that, so you should really get on it. You're slacking.